Hi everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the preliminary episode of the Missing Link podcast. My name's Bruce Gunter. This is my good mate and business partner, Brendan Ryan.
G'day, mate. Good, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you. Brendan's normally on the other side of this, and but came on here today to discuss this new podcast and what we're doing and why. We had discussed this for, I don't know, probably a couple of years. I think this has been in the making. And this Copy Southbound podcast is extremely popular, and we like that for the history of transport, but every now and then we'll bring up compliance and incidents and accidents that we're involved with. We've liked the idea of keeping that separate, so that's why we thought it was better off to come up with a new idea. It was really pushed along when we were contacted by Steve Shearer and Sharon Middleton from White Line Transport. Steve's from SATA, who wanted to have a follow-on episode after the White Line podcast that we did on Copy Southbound, and there was a lot of investigation that went into that following that podcast, so we decided that it was a good catalyst and a great way to kick it off. So our first episodes will be featuring Steve Shearer, Sharon Middleton, and also Paul Alsbury from the NHVR, who came down and spoke. So, but we just wanted to give you a bit of an outline of what we're doing and why. Our business, ProDrive Compliance, we never mentioned that on Copy Southbound, but this is a little bit different. So Brenno's and I have been working together for some years now, before we became business partners, and we ended up getting into the compliance area there through a colleague who invited us in to assist doing it. And as a result, we've seen some stuff that blows our mind, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's stuff that not a lot of people actually hear about, the other side of things, and when incidents happen and people get pulled through investigations and the repercussions of that sort of stuff on businesses and on people, it's pretty devastating. So we like to, think that we're doing our best to try and help the industry and helping these individual people and businesses and that sort of stuff. But I don't think people get to see exactly what happens on the other side of it.
That's right. And we find that when we go in and we talk to companies, some of them have got a little bit of an idea. Some of them have been involved in an audit process due to a third party that they're working with, or they're working for some major players and they get audited and they get asked to have certain things that they never knew that they needed. And so they have a bit of an idea, but there's a lot who actually don't know what they need. And once there's been an incident, and we'll always go worst case scenario, and that is that there's been a major incident which has severely injured people or been a fatality. And that's when really the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And they suddenly find out what they don't have and how out of touch they are. So as I'm getting older, I'm a bit older than Brenno's here, and I feel that's for sure. And as we're getting on, we've realised that we can't get to everyone, and our thing is to educate. We try and put it out. We did a compliance episode on Copy Southbound. What was that, episode 60?
60, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a while back now, because we're about more than double that now. But that was a bit of a game changer for us. I think that we didn't realise how many people were going to benefit from that.
Yeah, and I think we, like you touched on before, we wanted to try and keep, Copy Southbound about the history of trucking, and people love that, and that's why it's got such a big following. So we didn't really want to be sort of filling that full of compliance stuff. But on the other side of that, because of episode 60, we had so many people approaching us and asking us questions, and emails and text messages, and I guess that probably led to us wanting to do something like this to be able to give some of those answers to more people than just the ones contacting us, because I think there's probably a lot of people out there that haven't contacted us that are still asking questions or looking to find answers somewhere. So hopefully, by doing this, we can, give some of those answers or give some clarity around some of those issues, and people not knowing where to go to or who to ask questions of.
Yeah. And I think that when we go into companies, the advantage that we've got is that we're both driven, not a lot, not compared to guys that are out there who've done 35 years behind the wheel, that's for sure, and we never claim that. But we drove enough to be dangerous, and we've driven a lot of different types of equipment between us, including machines and plant. And so we understand it then. And then both of us ended up doing operations, allocating, managing workshops, transport manager, managing drivers. So we've both had that experience between us, which has been a good thing that's helped us for putting things together. But it's been a little bit of a blessing in disguise when it's come to accident investigations and working with the regulator and with companies who are in trouble.
Yeah, and I think, by no means am I a seasoned truck driver, that's for sure. But I have done the job on several different levels and worked with drivers a lot. And I think that does help us when we're talking to drivers and we can understand things from their perspective as well. But then we can also sit down with managers and directors and executives and also understand and try and communicate things that in a way that they'll understand. So I think that really does help us in what we do and being able to communicate on different levels with different people in different roles.
Yeah. And we go back to like when chain of responsibility first came in, there was the Coots tanker accident down the bottom of Motorvale Hill. There was the catalyst there, or basically the straw that broke the camel's back and made it get introduced. It got introduced soon after that. There were some big investigations, some key people within the RMS compliance team at the time there who were adamant on bringing Coots to its knees, and they did that. It wasn't owned by Ian Coots at that time. It had changed hands, but they basically crushed that company. And we've seen from then, I learnt more about compliance in the first 6 months than what I'd learnt my whole lifetime working around trucks and transport. And that's been the big eye-opener, because when you see what happens behind the scenes, and that's what we really want to try and bring to people with this is there will be a lot about compliance in here. It might be about, hey, this is the best way we've seen for you to do a pre-trip inspection. And a lot of guys will be listening going, it's not that hard, is it? But when it comes to court, if you go to court, there's certain things that you need to do in that pre-trip, not just basically have a list. And for drivers, they don't realise how implicated they are if they don't do a pre-trip inspection, but are caught in an accident. So there's a lot of little things we'll bring together like that. But the one thing we really want to bring in is a little bit of politics into it. And we've done that with the interviews that we've already recorded with Steve Shearer, who was an ex-politician and brilliant at lobbying government, trying to get a better industry for all of us. And there are some good people out there doing it. But I think that our key thing will be investigations, where we have someone who comes on whose company has been pulled through the ringer through a chain of responsibility investigation following a major incident.
Yeah, and I think the political side of it, we're probably right in the middle of something that is leaning towards that part of it as well with this fuel crisis. The political side of that is huge, and that's going to be touched on in our first episode, which will be up very, very shortly. So, but yeah, it's not just going to be that political stuff. As you said, it's going to be more about sort of investigations and what people go through and how that affects them and the businesses and I guess, as you touched on, like with things like pre-trip inspections or training or whatever, I think getting people to understand what they can do to improve their systems and improve their businesses and how they can protect their people and their business. I think a lot of people know what to do really, really well. They probably just don't know how to document it right or to make sure that they're protected as a business. We're not here to teach people how to drive or how to hook them up, but it's about making sure that it's documented right, you're training your people right, and you can prove what you've done, and that's going to protect you in the long run.
Yeah, and when you look back to what we did in November, and we ran our Road to Compliance masterclass, which we talked about doing for some time as well, and I think the feedback from that, we did that at West HQ in Sydney. We're going to be doing it again at this stage in October at Shepparton down at Move. Yep. So that we're just in the throes of getting that organised now, and all we did there was have some key people out of the industry. I think we had 16 or 18 speakers, 18 speakers, yeah. A lot of them in competition with each other. And I love the fact that they weren't up there trying to sell their product. We told them that wasn't what it is. We wanted to get them to tell the audience how their product can help and what they can do. We had everything from lawyers to telematics providers, auditors, a number of different people there, and went through different sections. It was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and that was probably the big part of what we wanted to do with that day, was to make sure that it wasn't a big selling tool. It wasn't a trade show as such. It was about helping the people that came along and having them walk away with some education and information that they can actually put into their business. It was I never wanted it. I was despising the fact that we're going to have people up there trying to, do the big sell. That was the one thing that we didn't want it to be, and it worked out really well. They were fantastic, all of our speakers.
Yeah, they all accepted that because we made it
Yeah.
pretty clear to them. And we've been to some conferences where people have gotten up and spoken, and we've said, "Oh, great, we're going to go up and learn about a particular part of the industry here." And then what we found was they were just saying how good their product was, and we just didn't want that. We wanted people to be educated and to learn something from it because they, by all means, those people could give out their flyers, put them into our bags, everything and that sort of thing there. And we had some really good key providers in the industry there, but all of them accepted what we wanted them to do there. And it was really, really, it went down very well. And we probably didn't sell the tickets we wanted. I think a lot of people probably didn't realise what it was about, but the feedback we got afterwards, I think the next one would be pretty big. And
it was fantastic. And that was the thing, like you said, they could put flyers and stuff in bags, and if people wanted more information, they were able to get it, and they were able to go and approach these people from these different companies and providers, but it wasn't rammed down their throat. It was more that they were just providing information.
Yeah, so I'd say with the new SMS that's coming out, and the master code, which was released beginning this year, that'll probably have a bit to do with our next one. So it'll probably be a 2-day event that we'll do, I would say, because we need to tell people what they need to do for this and give it to them in layman's terms. When we hear stuff from the bureaucrats, from the regulator, from the government, it's often not in terms that a lot of us can understand. And so we kind of try and translate that into something that's a little bit easier to get.
Yeah, quite often we're trying to translate it in a way that we can understand it as well. So that is quite often the hard part. Is a lot of this stuff comes out and we have to figure out how to interpret it, and then if we're struggling to do it, then we know that some operators out there are going to struggle to do it. So we've got to try and find a way how we get that message across and teach people what's coming and show them how they can comply, I guess,
Yeah. So the NHVR has put a lot of certain cases up on their website. They will talk about operator A and operator B and different outcomes, and there's some of the things that we want to discuss. But we also want to, hopefully get some operators on here as well to let us know what they've been through. I think one of the key things that's a concern for me is when, and I made this very clear when we had Paul Alsbury in here from the NHVR, that you and I could probably go in and within a couple of weeks we get a damn good feel on how a company operates and if they're good at it or not. And yet, why does it take the NHVR 2 years to do an investigation? Pull them from pillar to post. We see notices at times we just go, that's just not relevant, or that's not right, or what they're charging them for isn't correct. Especially with certain things like fatigue issues or whatever, they really try and nail a company on everything they can. Yeah. And people have got to understand they can even have someone suicide underneath the front of the truck, and all of a sudden the whole company gets pulled through the ringer, and it's a suicide. It's got nothing to do with them doing anything wrong. So it is a tough industry to be in, but we don't make the law. We just have to try and abide by it, and we have to try and teach people what they need to do. And we don't probably agree with a lot of the things with the law. I think it's extremely heavy law on the transport industry, but we want to try and educate people and help them because, golly, if you're on the receiving end of one of those notices due to a major, it's all downhill from there. And we've seen people lose everything in the process and then come out clear at the end, but they've lost their business in the process. And that's one bit that I hate, along with work diary fines.
Yeah.
Where's that soapbox of mine?
And it is. It's such a tough thing to have to go through. And like you said, it could have been something that was absolutely not your fault. But then if they start to look into your business and they start to find things that you haven't done right, or, some gaps in there, then that could expose you. So, it is a tough one. You might be doing absolutely nothing wrong in your eyes, or not even aware that you're not complying. And then all of a sudden, because something's happened completely out of your control, you're then dragged into something like that. And, it can be devastating.
And something that I also want to be open about on here, I have a hatred for social media comments. And a lot of them are directed at our international drivers that are coming in. The Indian community gets targeted very heavily. I definitely know that there's been some crap out there with people that have been driving and come in from overseas, but there's also a hell of a lot of good that comes with those people as well. And I want to sort of try and be involved in not just clearing up a few myths there, and we do touch on this with Sharon Middleton and Steve Shearer on our second part of the episodes there, but also ways to work around it and ways to work with that community, because at the end of the day, there's a shortage of truck drivers out there. There's definitely sham contracting. There's definitely people that are getting let into the country that shouldn't be coming in here. There's a whole big can of worms with that. But there is also a lot of guys out there that are purely just trying to do their job, and a little bit of education goes a long way. And I'm not a racist person, and I really don't like a lot of the nastiness that goes on out there. So if you don't like me pushing those areas there, you'll know which episodes to skip, because I'm making it clear at the beginning. So I'm not here for anything. This is just my opinion on these things, and we have seen both sides. And we've worked with a lot of people from different countries, and it's not just Indian either. We've had people from the UK. Obviously, the Kiwis come over here in force, and there's a lot of New Zealanders over here who drive and have done a great thing for us. You go back to the 50s and all the Italians were coming out. My old man was complaining about them because they didn't speak English. And I got to drive the fruta truck, and so that was all around back then, and that's how it was.
Spanish?
It was Spanish. It was close to it anyway. Yeah. Thank you for that.
That's okay.
And so there's a lot of things there, and we've dealt with Irish, and a lot of Irish guys that drive, but they don't look any different to us.
Especially
and that's
in
been
the
a
civil
really
industry, there's a lot of guys out
heaps
there.
of Irish love digging holes. Yeah. So there's some key people that will come on. We'll be bringing on here. We've got some lawyers who have put their hand up and said that they'd like to come and talk. And they'll be great because they're transport lawyers, and they will discuss different things of the past.
And
cases
stuff
that they've been involved with.
Yeah, and stuff that we can't really sort of help with. That's not our expertise. We're not lawyers.
And we still have questions.
Yeah, that's right. And
they answer a lot of those questions and say, unfortunately, this is how it is, or no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
There's certain things such as, we hear of police going up and knocking on the doors of trucks while drivers are asleep in there and say they want to have a look at their work diaries and stuff like that. Which is definitely not ethical as far as we're concerned, and apparently it is an illegal thing for them to do, but there's a loophole that they jump in, but we want to try and stop a lot of that. And we do encourage people to contact us through our Facebook page and actually, or Instagram, other forms. I only know about Facebook because I'm old, but apparently there's other forms of social media out there. And so we ask people to contact us if they have things that they want to discuss, and they've been through situations there, but they have to be factual. And that's one thing about the missing link. There's no urban myths on here. All we want to do is squash those. We want this podcast to be very factual about what people go through, what they deal with on a daily basis. We'll be discussing stuff with mechanics and some of the things that we need to look at when it comes to maintenance of vehicles. We'll be discussing things with probably transport managers and what they've been through, operations people, telematics providers. We want to get all sorts of people on here to basically help all those little holes and all those little things that link it up there. We call it the missing link, obviously, because of the chain of responsibility. Our ProDrive compliance logo has jigsaw pieces in it because it's just a massive jigsaw puzzle, and at times there's little pieces missing everywhere, and you've got to be able to put those pieces in the holes and join the dots, really, don't you?
Yeah, and I think hopefully it can help a lot of different people in different roles in transport companies. You might be a driver, you might be an admin girl, you might be a scheduler, you might be an owner, and we're really trying to aim to help all of those people and right across the industry. So there's probably going to be parts in it that won't be tailored to you, but it might be tailored to your boss or the person that works under you, or if you can get anything out of it, I think then we've done our job. So that's sort of the aim, is just to try and educate and bring more information out there. And as you touched on the factual stuff, the real world sort of stories, and not my mate told me that this happened, and that's just hearsay. So we can't really do a lot with that sort of stuff. But if there's things happening out there that need to be highlighted and brought to a platform that's going to get some attention, then that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and we're definitely not lawyers, and we're glorified truck drivers, if you could even call us that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we've had a lot of exposure, and that's what we want to be able to share with people, because we realise that we've learned a lot. And we've decided that we're going to broadcast this one on YouTube as well. So my head for radio theory is going to get definitely exercised on this. And I would say that though it should be a good thing, and I hope that it's something that appeals to people. Pretty much around an hour each episode we'll plan to do, and at this stage I'd say every Wednesday we're going to release one, unless we run out.
Yeah,
there might be times where I'm just here talking by myself and talking to you about something, or Breno's might be on here. We've got to get him on here more often because he's got a hell of a lot to offer. And honestly, like, you know, working with him as long as I have, and the man's brilliant. His memory is phenomenal. And when it comes to the compliance stuff, I learn from him daily because he's very, very good at what he does. So I think that there's a lot that Brendan can bring to this if we're here discussing certain things that we've seen. We have been involved with a lot of investigations now with serious injuries and fatalities, and you soon learn that pattern that the authorities run down, don't you?
Yeah, we see it all the time. When notices come through and the types of things that they're looking for straight away, you can pick it. You know what direction they're going in, and yeah, we've seen too many of them really. Like it's not a nice part of the industry to be talking about. You know, when people are seriously injured or killed, there's no winners in it. But our aim is to try and, you know, prevent that type of stuff from happening. So if we can just, you know, add a little bit to the industry that's a positive thing and prevents people from being hurt or killed for that matter, I think it's a good thing. So hopefully we can really help and bring some information and education to people and get them to see, you know, behind the curtain, I guess.
Yeah. How often do you go into a company, or I go into a company and we start to tell someone that, and they're going, we've got to do all that. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
And we still hear that a lot, where a lot of people, we think they're a little bit out of touch of just what is required. So we want to try and get them onto that front foot and get them to understand. And the changes that are coming out mid-year from the NHVR is a big game changer as well. And that's another thing that we can hopefully help educate. So we may have episodes that are purely just on safety management systems try and tell you certain sections that you need to do and why.
The whole accreditation scheme's being changed. So,
and we're learning as well.
Well, yeah, for us, you know, that's going to change what we do and how we do it. So as we learn, we'll hopefully be able to, you know, bring it to the audience and you know, put it in, like you said before, layman's terms, and get it out there in a way that people will understand and try and help people. But yeah, we've got to learn it first, you know. So that's going to be, you know, challenging, I think, over probably the next 12 months, probably 6 to 12 months. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes and what that starts to look like. And as we learn, we'll try and teach you guys as well. Yeah,
fair enough. So, well, I suppose that's it. That's pretty much in a nutshell what we're going to be doing. We certainly hope that it's something that's educational and it's probably a little bit more serious than Copy Southbound. There's a lot of fun on Copy Southbound. Copy Southbound will still be going. We've still got a lot of people waiting to come on.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, when fuel's less than $200 a litre, we might get back out there again and try and record a few. Yeah. And hopefully Arbo will take a little bit more of that exhaust rather than half, and allow the industry to keep travelling a bit better than what it is. But, you know, it is what it is out there. There's a lot of people bleeding at the moment. But, you know, we do get praise for Copy Southbound, and a lot of guys say it's great for keeping them awake at night. So this will just keep them going for hopefully an hour on a Wednesday.
Well, hopefully we don't put them to sleep with it. That's the main thing.
Well, we don't want to do that. It's the last thing we want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, hope that you guys all enjoy it. We do like feedback, nothing to do with my personal appearance or the fact that I say every third word. I know that. And yes, I own Max Keogh's Kenworth. And what else have I got? Oh, yeah, and I like common knockers. Okay, so let's just clear that up right now. And we'll get enough feedback about that. But thanks, Breno, for coming on for this first one. And I'm sure that we're going to get you back on for a few more. And we hope that all you guys will enjoy watching and listening to The Missing Link. Cheers.
Cheers.